And we are live, back at it. Wild card playoff game in the books, 34-31. A little closer than anybody really predicted, I would say. They were 10-point favorites, the Rams were, coming into this game, and for good reason. The Carolina Panthers not great at much. You are shocked. I think most people are shocked. I think a lot of fans at this juncture will throw in a comment something like, a win is a win. And in the playoffs, that is absolutely true. How you feeling, Erin Coscarelli?
When is this show going to be sponsored by some kind of heart medication? Yeah. Am I delayed? How am I looking? Good?
Coming through loud and clear for me.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to this sort of Rams sponsored event, not by the Rams, but by their fans. And it was an emotional day. I will say that. You're just taking in the collective of how people in LA really instantly process the reaction of a Rams game. Typically if it's an away game, we're watching it from our house, from our home. And it's quiet, it's sort of cerebral, methodical. I didn't get any of that. And so I was really feeling the pulse of the fan base. And it's hard when the Rams have moments like that. And we're going to I think all of us really want to kind of understand why the Rams put themselves in situations where it does feel, and I say this week in and week out, it is such a momentum game where they'll make like an incredible turnover and then they won't be able to produce. They'll go 3 and out. You saw the beginning of the game, the first quarter, they hit the gas and seemed like they were dialing up really, incredible opportunities. And then it just slips away. And it almost felt like at the end of the game that was going to happen. I was like, listen, I can't, because I was driving from the event back to my place. And I'm like, I can't even watch the end of the game because even if you're a fan of football, it's crazy to watch, just regardless of who ends up winning. And I know we have to be unbiased here, but if you're rooting for the Rams, you know that this is a better team talent-wise. Just dealing with having Puka, Quentin Lake is back. Davante is in the... Yeah. I mean, what was your instant reaction? And I think a lot of people are curious, like, is this Carolina team just a really good team? I mean, they are physical, but I don't know. It's the postseason. They've got the Eagles or the Niners or the Bears or obviously the Seahawks again.
Well, one thing we overlooked last time is their defensive coordinator coming from the Rams building, Ejiro Evero. Bunch of Rams players on this team. Nick Scott playing a big part on their defense. Christian Roseboom having a good game, which I never thought I would say. But this is a well-coached team. I mean, they don't have a lot of good players on either side of the ball. Bryce Young did enough to keep his team within striking distance. The running game is something you have to account for all the time, and I think the Rams did a fine job keeping that in check. I'm getting a little stuffed up. I've been dealing with a cold, so I apologize for my voice. I'll probably cough at some point, but that aside, I think that this is, it's just, you watch that defense and they're flying around and they're really physical. You said their physicality was there, and the defense, absolutely 100%. What we're just bullying both Davante and Puka Nacua, making them fight for every yard, every catch. So, it was, when you do that to this team, they, it's such a rhythm-based team and a rhythm-based offense that it starts to fall apart here and there. And you look at those first 2 drives that they scored touchdowns on. That was a 45-yard drive. Then they punted after picking up 24 yards and then a 48-yard touchdown. So those were pretty much gifted. I mean, that was a 4th down call and then an interception. Yeah, an interception that set them up for those 2 scoring. And then you kind of look at the rest of those, any long field drives that this offense tried to make until that 71-yarder to end the game. Well, they got a 67-yarder to go back up. earlier in the fourth quarter. So, this defense was just playing them really, really physically, and they were able to get pressure on Stafford, and Stafford has just been bad. And he took a few shots in this game, and I think his hand was definitely bothering him.
Mm-hmm.
But a gutsy performance, definitely. So, instant reaction is just, watch out. This is playoff football. There's no easy out. This was supposed to be the easy out.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any easier than this going forward. Every team is going to be playing like this. So, Kevin Dotson, another game missed for him, and you can definitely feel that on the right-hand side. It's a collective unit. You can look at pressures given up by certain guys, but it's really a collective unit. And I think Warren McClendon, he did give up a lot of pressures in this game, but it has to do with not having the right hand anchor Kevin Dotson there. So hopefully he'll come back. I don't know. He was ruled questionable for the game, but then inactive. So we'll see heading into whoever they play next. But what else? What other takeaways do you have from this game? Where else can we go?
Well, look, the penalties were, it's amazing they overcame the number of penalties. I want to say, let's see, I think they had 9. Yeah, 9 for 83. And one of the things that I posted on Instagram was just how disciplined this team has been. In each of the last 5 years and 5 seasons, this is the least penalized team in the NFL, right? Well, when you have 9 for 83, that says something. That D-ditch holding call. There were a lot of opportunities, even just things that felt uncharacteristic, right? Like we never see Puka with a perfect pass, drop a ball. That really very rarely ends up happening. I didn't get the graphic. I didn't catch the stats on the graphic, but a graphic on the Fox broadcast was showing Stafford's efficiency before his injured situation. And we don't really know what it was, but the guy's definitely he got banged up somehow. They showed his hand looking a little swollen. But I will say on the flip side of that, because I like to be the perennial optimist in this relationship. How tough is this Rams team? Like you saw Davante get really smacked in that.
Really rocked,
really rocked. Comes, he's bleeding in his mouth. He comes back in the game a little bit later. Obviously, Stafford's clearly in some kind of pain. He comes back in the game and finds a way to get it done. I will say that this is a very, very tough, durable team. They're not going to miss the postseason. They're not going to miss the playoffs. But you want to feel like you're not losing momentum and taking your foot off the gas for the mere fact of the playoffs. Obviously, you're of the most talented to make it to the tournament, but you also need to be emotionally sound. And I think sometimes this team still gets snake bit by the momentum changing. And, thank goodness for Rams fans, they figured out how to close the game out, but it was really touch and go for a while.
Yeah. And to flip over to the other side, I think, the defense is getting a lot of feedback right now, a lot of flack for this game. And I think, not every quarterback is going to be able to handle the pressure like Bryce Young did. Just kind of looking at the teams that are left in the playoffs, though, other than Sam Darnold, I think all the NFC teams have a quarterback that handles pressure pretty well. Jalen Hurts. We got Jordan Love taking on Caleb Williams right now. Both, Caleb Williams is developing against pressure, but he's got the legs to move around for sure. So, there's no Jared Goffs. There's that pure progression quarterback. Pretty moves around pretty well, even though that is a pure progression kind of offense through Shanahan, and he can be pushed off his spot. He's probably the most susceptible other than Sam Darnold, but just throwing that out there as, looking forward, this defense has to get home. They have to get home in the pass rush. I don't recall how many sacks there were in this game on
2?
Bryce
I
Young.
think 2.
2 sacks, yep. And it seemed like a good amount of pressure, but he was able to mitigate it pretty well. And then, I mean, I just think the secondary, people have kind of figured out how to go after them. And Akella Witherspoon went down. Emmanuel Forbes got banged up. Josh Wallace already inactive. Darius Williams inactive. Quentin Lake, kind of an on and off game, his first game back. So I'm sure he'll kind of find his footing there, finding, that captainhood, that leading the defense once again. So, yeah, I mean,
you're talking about leading the defense. That I will say this, and I am not someone that typically likes to criticize the refs, but that hit that Nate Landman made, that was shoulder to shoulder. That didn't feel like that was egregious at all, and they got penalized for that. I think that there were some moments that, look, I'm sorry, but that just seemed like we're calling every single, it's the postseason. We got to make calls correctly now. Like that shouldn't even have happened. That was a missed call there. Sorry. It is. It just is. Like shouldn't have, right? Don't you agree? That should not have been a penalty. There were some moments where you're kind of like hard to come back from things like that when it's also the league needs to do a better job at calling better penalties or not.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that home crowd was rocking too. And I think there was a false start or a delay of game or something like that was happened, I think directly related to that crowd, because they were in that game for sure. And I want to go back to, you were down at Golden Road, I believe. And with a fan group, World Tour Rams, what was kind of the sense there? Was it, up and down? Was the fourth quarter belief still there, or was it, were people pretty upset?
Yeah. It's interesting to take in, and I'm not sure I can do that every single game because it's so stimulating. But it's great to, as research, take in the pulse of how I was with a Rams couple whose father of the husband had been a fan since obviously before they moved to St. Louis. And they show up on Sundays at SoFi at 6 a.m. to set up. And it's like it's a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
So when you know what you and I do, and we cover the team and we're directly sort of, keeping people's finger on the pulse with sort of what's happening in the day-to-day transactions or schemes or injuries or that sort of thing. It's interesting to get a sense of how the fan feels, because the fan is such an emotional reflection, and seeing it tonight or today really, it's really amazing how much they love their football team and why they love their football team and sort of the legacy, right? Because the thing that I think the Rams now moving back to LA after since 2016, they're trying to tap into the generational fan. So how do you what happens if the Rams lose? What happens if they're no longer in the postseason? How do you still keep your fan base? Like that's interesting to me. Always sort of the business and the generational pull at why people love football or sports in general. And I think for me, and what I saw is there's so much community building in those moments. And you're collectively going, like when Hubbard scored a touchdown, it's quiet. Obviously you're like, oh, that sounds like that didn't go well. And then obviously the complete opposite when something positive ends up happening. So I think being from LA, growing up in LA, and finally kind of getting an NFL team. Growing up, I didn't have an NFL team. They moved when I was 10. They moved to St. Louis in 94, I think, right? Something like that. Right. And so yes, you feel it so much more from a fan base in that environment than you would if you were just at home, on your laptop taking notes, which is what I typically do. It was hard to focus. I was like, oh my God, stimulation overload, which is great. That's why you are there. But they didn't give up. They were like so into it the whole time. But I think the sense that I got was, frustration, because I think they know how good this team is. They have a Davante, even though the run game definitely, like you mentioned, it just didn't seem, at the end, it kind of opened up a little bit, but I was really expecting with Davante's presence, to see a better offensive production, because he was going to pull away some of the defenders from Puka and open up that run game. Did you see anything that sort of stood out to you with Davante coming back?
Well, not
because he really wasn't involved. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he only had 3 catches? Not even.
Is that right?
Maybe he had more than that by that point.
But 5 receptions, 72 yards. So I mean, definitely a big part of it. And a similarity between the previous game against the Panthers and this game is they didn't seem to play as much 13 personnel. And that's one of the things I kind of brought it up on your show, talking about, I want to call it almost a fragile ecosystem, where the offense really has to be able to function the way McVay has designed it to. He's not like an improv artist. He's like scripted. He wants to stay on time and in rhythm, and he's, he wants like the sequence of plays, and they really found the magic with that, with the 13 personnel, and they just they didn't play as much. Definitely in the last one. I'll look at the numbers for this one tomorrow when they come out, but it certainly seemed like they went back to a lot more 11 personnel, just because this defense does play so physically, and they're not afraid to leave, nickel personnel on the field against the bigger personnel. And that said, Colby Parkinson and Konate Mumfield out of 13 personnel, saved the game. But that said, again, are there other teams that are they going to be able to knock them off that kind of rhythm and using that heavier personnel with those 3 tight ends? Probably not. So, some uniqueness to this game that we might not see. Bryce Young is turning into something really special. I feel like Dave Canales is a fantastic play caller, and this is a well-coached team. So, Davante's first game back as well. Is he fully healthy? Is he moving at 100% speed, or was he rushed back a little bit?
Right. That's a good point. That's a good
point.
Coach
McVay said, we would have brought him in last week, but he says stuff like that all the time. I'm always very skeptical of when he talks about injured players. So I think
that's a really good point, right? Like, you almost think this guy, you saw him come up a little lame with the Lions game, and he even said it in the press conference this week. Davante did. He's like, I knew I could have dialed it up. I knew to, on that play where you saw him, against the Lions, come up limping. He's like, I knew I could have made it worse. I slowed myself down and prevented potentially a further, more serious injury. And you have to wonder if that's maybe part of this, right? Like, you think he's not so much a decoy necessarily, because obviously he was very involved in making crazy plays and took a huge hit. Yeah. I think in the 3rd, or certainly early in the 4th. But you just want to make sure you don't want to just gas out in the event you win, and then now you don't have your stars for the rest of the postseason. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like, we can't do this again, guys. Like, we can't. It just felt a very stressful game. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Carolina Panthers are just a really good team. They're a very physical team. It got chippy there at moments. And they kept up with the Rams, and tip my cap to them, because they showed up at home.
Yeah, and I wonder, just from the emotional side of things, I wonder if there is something still about this team that they need to come into games like this more level-headed, a little bit more, maybe for the next one, just because the helmets will be a little bit more prestige laden, whoever they play, whether it's the Bears, the Packers. Well, they won't play the Packers, but anyhow, Seattle or what have you. Um, are they just coming in too cocky? Are they coming in thinking that they are the best team, that they are the best coach team there? I don't know. We'll see. But number one fan here, heart surgery.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. We're going to get this show sponsored either by like a tequila company or some type of heart medication, because I needed, like I was going to almost do it as a prop. I needed like a bag to blow into. You know how like when you're on an airplane, you're feeling a little like it's getting hot in here.
So one stat to look at that is pretty bad for the Rams coming out of this game: 3 for 13 on third down plays.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Those are the Davante plays. Those are usually the ones that he's kind of the go-to guy on. And I didn't keep track of exactly how many times he was targeted in those situations, but yeah, I mean, this is one of
and the run game didn't really seem very effective. I mean, there were moments where Kyren opened things up, but I was like, oh, they gotta abandon the run at this point. It just didn't seem like it was working.
Well, it's still 4 yards a carry. I mean, there's not a lot of pop to it. I think they did
4 yards a carry. Well, that's a good point. Okay.
But it didn't seem like there was much explosivity, and usually we would see 1 or 2 from Blake Corum at the very least, where he could pick up 15. And I don't think they probably only got 4, maybe 6 yards. Yeah, they're long. Both their longs are 8 yards. So their longest runs of the game. So they did a really good job of putting the cap on that. So,
I was like touching my head because I had to, I was driving home from the event trying to make it in time for our post-game show. And I was asking my former producer, Christian Anderson, who's now like a morning show producer for like KCAL or something like that. And I said, you got to keep me just updated. I can't even look at the score. I'm getting, I was getting like my forehead was feeling hot. And you're sick now. It sounds like you're not feeling so good. So is that from snowshoeing too much? I told you that's a bad idea.
I guess so.
Ryan decided to go snowshoeing in the middle of the football season and, got a dog bite. I mean, a lot has happened since I've
All better.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this is a good observation here. I think they're just trying to figure out what works, because they had been running behind Dotson primarily and having a lot of success there. And that's kind of the core of their running game. And they're just trying to find another way to do it. And, I think they did a fine job at it, but they're not finding those explosive, there's no explosivity in the run game from this game at all. So it's, you got to have it, it was such a big part of it. The success rate of the team while out of 13 personnel as well is so much better when they're running the ball, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I mean, but why was it not successful? You got Tyler Higbee was back. You had Tyler
they weren't running it as much as all. I think is, because Carolina was forcing them to move on to a faster, sleeker package. And so I don't know. We've got the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears playing right now. As I said before, this playoff bracket, obviously you got the 1 seed Seahawks. They're going to play the lowest seed, whoever wins. So if the Packers,
explain this one to all of us.
If the Packers win or the 49ers win, the Seahawks will play one of those teams.
Because the
lowest seed will play the Seahawks.
Highest seed.
Yes.
The highest seed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the Rams being the 5 seed, they could end up going back to play Seattle if the Eagles and the Bears win. So I don't know how people should feel about that. If you want to see them in the NFC Championship game or the divisional game, I think kick the can down the road as far as you
Yeah.
possibly can. Maybe, I don't know. What do you
I
think?
mean,
I mean,
here's the thing. Like, guys, seriously. I had a moment because I'm like, I saw Brittany, by the way. I saw Brittany at,
oh,
I saw Brittany. Hi, Erin. I'm like, hi. She's like, it's
I should
Brittany.
have
I'm like, oh
gone.
my God. She drove up with her family. So sweet.
Both girls with her.
She said it was in the bathroom, which is of course where all of us women convene and have heart to hearts. So I don't know what children she was with, but she said the whole family, so I imagine
Okay.
so. But I remembered having a moment in the bathroom where I'm like, sometimes the things that I post on Twitter, am I going to regret? Because I posted something about the line, right? The spread 10.5 points. I'm like, this seems crazy that, FanDuel is saying that the Rams, who lost in that same building, double-digit favorites, 10.5 points, like on FanDuel, like, and then, let's just say the Rams end up having a blowout and killing the Panthers. Then I'm like, I take it back, but I always kind of think about the things that I say. And sometimes but it's football. It's like all speculation central. That's what fantasy football is. It's just speculation.
Yeah.
It's like any given Sunday. But I'm going to go on the record and say, I think the Rams can take any team. It's just a momentum. Like, they should have beat the Seahawks. That 2-point conversion that, yet again, the refs made a unique call there. Okay.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been the game that it ended up becoming, but that is the game of life. That is the rules you have to accept. It's just part of the cards you get dealt. So if it was a rematch, yes, and you have all of your reinforcements, Davante wasn't available in that game, right? He wasn't available. Yeah, okay. So you get Davante back. You've got Q Lake now. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think the Rams are not afraid of going to Seattle and playing the Seahawks again just because they lost.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
It's been such a fascinating season. Obviously, they dropped one to the Eagles, they lost to the Panthers, they lost one to the Seahawks, they lost one to the 49ers. They haven't played either the Bears or the Packers. But it's gone both ways for this team across the year, and it's kind of, I think the offense is the driver of this team. The defensive pass rush is the saving grace for the defense. First round cornerback in 2026. Oh, it's 2026 already. We'll have draft talk for sure, but this team can beat any of these teams there and have proven so in many of these cases. The Eagles, another really strange game, and that was early on in the season before the 13 personnel revolution. The Packers are not the same team without Micah Parsons. That was kind of the team I was cluing in on and being like, that's the one I'm really worried about, because Jordan Love is having a really great year despite there's this kind of narrative about him that he's kind of this turnover machine. He hasn't thrown that many turnovers. If you go look at it, he's made some pretty inopportune ones, but I digress on that point.
Wait, real quick. So I don't think you posted, I think it was actually JB Long. He said 4 of the 5 teams that the Rams lost to are in the postseason. Who's the 5th team that is not in the postseason that the Rams lost to? The Panthers.
Well, they lost to the Seahawks, the Niners, the Eagles,
the
Panthers, and who was the other one?
Who's the 5th one?
Let me look. I'm gonna cheat.
The Bucks.
This is embarrassing. Not the Bucks.
The Falcons. The Falcons.
Oh, duh, the Falcons. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So they should be, it's like, okay. Not that matters, but it's interesting just to think about all the teams that are in the postseason are pretty good teams. And I feel like the Rams are basically have lost by a one score. It's been a 1-score affair. It's never been a blowout. A lot of them have been ref related.
Stop that.
or special teams related. And that was another thing. Go ahead. Go.
Blocked
you go.
punt.
No, you go.
Blocked punt.
I,
Can we play a clean game? I'll let Stafford can throw one interception. He threw 1.5 interceptions, but Puka Nacua is a heck of a cornerback. Maybe he should be the next Travis Hunter. But yeah, I think come on, special teams.
That can't happen again, guys.
Well, so we were talking about this kind of fourth down revolution I keep using that word. It's not the right word.
I liked it.
Thank you. McVay was kind of forced into doing that because Cardi turned into a pumpkin. I wonder if he'll finally prioritize special teams coordinators, special teams players.
Oh, wow.
Obviously they drafted Cardi and Ethan Evans, but they gotta fix that because, as I've been saying, repeat it with me, everyone. If special teams cost this team a chance at the Super Bowl or at winning the Super Bowl, I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. Like, that is
don't you keep saying that. I think you're gonna jinx us. Don't you say that. By the way, on fourth down, fourth down, one for 2, and third down, you said already 3.
3 for 13.
Yeah.
That's bad. So, I mean, those are execution downs, and we've seen that was kind of like the dooming. That was the dooming of 2024 of last year. Like, they were so bad on third down, they just could not convert those. So
let me ask you a really high level, really good question. What from this year have you seen from last year? Because it's kind of interesting if you look at, like, now that I've been doing, covering the team like 2.5 years now or so. And you talk about the third down efficiency that they were struggling on last year, but they managed to fix it this year. What's stood out to you that the Rams struggled with last year that they fixed, or that they didn't struggle last year that they need to fix this season?
Well, I think they've been a lot more efficient on first and second down,
Mm-hmm.
whether running or passing the ball. And that sets up shorter, opportunities on third down. So they can run it on third down rather than relying on Stafford making a play to Puka Nacua. And then you layer in Davante Adams onto that. And he's kind of get off the line, make the cornerback, break his ankles and pick up just a few yards. Well, and Tyler Higbee had always kind of been that go-to. And I think he's on his last legs. He's a free agent. I don't anticipate them re-signing him.
I mean, listen, when you're getting Landman signed, Lake signed, Kyren signed, and Higbee's over here going like, okay, I guess the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I guess so. And and they draft Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah.
And, Colby Parkinson still. Yeah. So, but those are the things that I've kind of clued in on, is just, just being, 2024, there's a lot of pre-snap penalties, false starts and
injuries to the offensive line. There was a lot of that.
Too. Yeah, for sure. So, they cleaned up all that stuff, and for the most part, this game notwithstanding, I think I've done a great job, and they got to find that magic again with Davante specifically, I think. And they ran the ball fine. We'll say that it's not explosive. That's okay, but they need to find that special sauce with the run game, some way to make it a threat that, like, to keep defenses pushed up towards the offensive line, so that you can pick up bigger chunk plays. And I mean, it's like this team had no respect for the running game whatsoever. They're like, yeah, keep running the ball. We'll keep our nickel packages out there, and we'll keep bullying you guys, and no respect whatsoever.
Okay, so then real quick, one issue from each side of the ball that you would like to see cleaned up by next week.
I mean, the defense is a tough one to register because I think they are what they are. I think schematically maybe that's it, is they've become predictable on defense, which is funny to say because they are so unpredictable, like with the stunts and the simulated pressures that they like to run that confuses the quarterback and the offensive line. Maybe they've become too predictable in that way, that they're just, teams are just expecting pressure to come. So they've got, a dump off pass ready to go, or they're going to run the ball more.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's a tougher one to crack. And I'll point out that I have not seen Chris Shula's name in any of the head coaching searches so far. So I wonder if there's something league wide out, beyond the media side of things that are saying like, let's see if he can do this again. Because if you if you kind of look at how the defense is built, that's more or less Snead. Obviously he's the team builder, but
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a conversation for a different. Offensively, if they're able to get back to 13 personnel, they'll probably run the ball more effectively and more explosively. So I anticipate that. And then, I'm a little bit worried about Stafford. Didn't look like the MVP that we had seen before. Is it an injury thing? Davante, get Dotson back. I mean, yeah.
He was sacked
just one time, right?
He was only sacked once. Is that what it was?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yep.
just one. Yep.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But they just got to get back to that identity that was so fluid and beautiful when everything was just popping. And that was a lot of 13 personnel. I'm just repeating myself, but
when it was something that actually McVay did bring up in the presser this week, he said, we like the fact that, what did he say? He said, because he was asked about Davante, and that Davante really started to emerge right around that Jacksonville game. I remember Jacksonville was like week 11, 12. Obviously, it was when they were in London. So,
can't be that late, is it?
What?
Was it that late? I mean,
it could be week 8. I could be lying, but it was his coming out game. Remember, it was not his coming out game, but also it was 13 personnel's coming out game.
Yeah.
So that was really because Puka was out. That's right. Puka had the injury, so Puka wasn't available. They did this 13 personnel. Diversified the portfolio, the offensive portfolio. And Puka, Puka wasn't available, but Davante came, and that's what McVay ended up mentioning. So, I mean, that's what's interesting is stringing together the season, but really trying to weave the storylines of each of the whys or the hows of this team. Why did they need to diversify into 13 personnel? Well, Puka wasn't available. Yeah. And then how do they try to figure things out, and you even texted me earlier before the game. You're like, Jarquez is active. I didn't know. I mean, I was driving. So
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he had any production today, but
he had a tackle on special teams.
Right. Yeah. He had a tackle on special teams. Is that you said?
Yeah. Our buddy here, Rob, thinks that it was horribly called on both sides of the ball. It's hard to disagree. It didn't look beautiful. It didn't look like it should have. Big eyes on the sideline. I like to say McVay also does kind of the he has like a kind of a Kermit the Frog face that he makes when he's like
oh yeah.
He's kind of.
What does that face mean? Does that signify something?
I think it means he wants to rip somebody's freaking head off, and he's holding his tongue.
Yeah. It's almost like the parental, like on the.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Or just like you're gonna get it. It's like
yeah,
you're gonna get it, and you just wait, Billy, till we get home. I'm gonna have a talking to you. Yeah.
But they move on. that is that the game. The name of the game in the playoffs is moving on.
And they have.
There are no life lessons. There are no my sick brain is not working very fast.
I know. Bless you for being here. By the way, Ryan is not feeling well. He are you on the other side of it? I never know how to.
Yeah, no, I am.
Okay, you're feeling better, but I didn't feel like you were sick right after we had our snowshoeing episode. But that was when you're on the downturn.
Well, I had just come off of a plane, so I wasn't sure exactly what was happening to me, but I did.
Oh, but your ears. That's right, your ears.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, look at these eyes. Look at these eyes, guys.
Well, and you had no sleep. You were getting no sleep.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. Well, on that note, we're on to another game. We'll find out exactly who they play.
Who do you want them to face? Who do you least want them to face?
I'm gonna say, I think, okay, so if the Eagles beat the 49ers and the Bears beat the Packers, the Rams will play the Seahawks. And I think I like that more
than the Eagles.
Because the Niners will play.
Wait, let's write this down. This is good. This is going to be a tweet. I'm posting this. Okay. What happened? What are we doing here?
Well, I can't go through all the scenarios.
No, but you're okay. I'll chat GPT it later. It's fine.
Yeah. So if the 49ers or the Packers win, if the Packers win, they play Seattle. Period.
Okay. Because they're the lowest.
7 seed.
They're the 7 seed.
Yep. If the 49ers win and the Bears win, they will play the Seahawks.
My head's already exploded. Okay.
Yeah, forget it. There's too many moving parts.
Wait, who's the 6th seed? It's the Packers.
The 49ers are the
right.
Are the 6th seed. 7 seed is the Packers. 2 seed the Bears. 5 seed the Rams. 1 seed the Seahawks.
Right.
Anyway,
I knew the Rams were the 5 seed, but thank you so much for clearing that one up. It's confusing, people. Don't worry. If you're not alone, Coscarelli, I should have my own show for being the confused Coscarelli show. Okay, but either way, who is it you'd least like them to face?
I think honestly the 49ers. Just because Shanahan has that special sauce. I know their defense is not very good. Right. There's something that I could point to for every one of these teams. The Bears, Ben Johnson, fantastic play caller. Their defense is kind of stepping up. That's an interesting team. I mean, I earlier in the season, I was like, this team is unbeatable. They're going straight to the Super Bowl. Not worried about many, but now after this game, I've come crashing back down to reality, which is what the playoffs are for. These are the best teams, and whatever. They just the other team just has to play well enough, get pressure on Stafford and make enough plays to keep themselves in the game.
And there were a few give backs in this game that I just thought that's probably not going to happen in the next round. There were a few, there was a sack, there was the interception.
They got to clean up those penalties too. That was, those were really costly too. And so I think that was really, really rough. And that shows like uncharacteristic, undisciplined play that hasn't been there all season long. I feel like, and I feel like they came in there and they thought they could just push this team around, and they were mistaken.
On to the divisional round we go.
Yeah, they won.
And they won.
In this case, a win is a win.
A win is a win. Any given Saturday, but a win is a win.
You won't hear me say it too often. So thanks, guys. We got nearly 100 people in there, which is a high watermark for us in a while. And I apologize. I haven't been on. I've been traveling and the holidays, and schedules just have been rough and all the sickness stuff. So you will be seeing my face, hopefully looking a little bit better here in the future. But we couldn't do it without you guys. Appreciate you. We will see you next time.